Hello, I'm Natalie Kenway and welcome back to The Green Dream. Today I'm joined by Tim Crockford, who is Head of Equity Impact Solutions at Regnan. Thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
So I think this is an important question for anybody running an impact strategy. How do you balance finding companies that are generating a positive impact on the environment or society as well as financial returns?
Yeah, good question. This is a strategy now that we've been running, for 7 years in totality, and ultimately that balance comes down to 3 pillars. The first thing is we're looking for companies that have that tailwind of demand for the environmental or the social solution that's going to be at the heart of their business and therefore their revenue and profit generation. The other critical element, the second critical element, is really about that company's ability to hang on to its competitive positioning through innovation. So the moats that we are looking for in the companies we invest in are centered around that company being able to do something which is tricky to do or protected by IP or highly differentiated. And as a result, as demand grows, that company can typically hang on to its competitive positioning as that market scales up. And then finally, perhaps one of the most critical parts of the recipe nowadays, it's really about looking for ideas where no one else is looking. This isn't about investing, for us at least, this isn't about investing in companies like Tesla that are well known. This is about looking for businesses in areas of the market, in areas of the value chains that we're interested in, to find companies that are mission critical enablers that have yet to be discovered, and hence that's reflected in their valuation. Okay,
so of course my next question is, can I have some examples, please? Perhaps some recent additions to the portfolio that are really making an impact?
Sure. Well, I guess when we talk about innovation a lot, when we're talking about what it is that makes us different, and I think this year it's impossible to talk about innovation without talking about artificial intelligence and generative AI. Interestingly, there's one company in the portfolio that we've been invested in since the earlier parts of this year that really helps reduce the drastic increase in power consumption that is being driven by the large language models behind these generative AI platforms.
Okay.
These AI platforms are very, very intensive when it comes to energy usage, when it comes to training them. And then, of course, the data centers that run them will require huge amounts of electricity for the actual usage and inference of these models. And there's a company in Germany, a business that's called Extron, listed on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. That's a business which is selling an enabling technology which allows the production of power semiconductors that run rather on silicon, they run on an alternative material called gallium nitride. It is really an innovative player in this space. It has a huge market share, and it's this switch in the power electronics from traditional silicon-based electronics into a material like gallium nitride can actually drive a 20% reduction in the electricity consumption of, say, the data centers or the supercomputers that are ultimately running these models.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, that's certainly something I've never come across before. And I think in the literature, it also mentions exposure to themes such as life expectancy and the circular economy.
Yes.
Could you touch on those a bit?
Yeah, so I think health and well-being for us has been a big area for many, many years now. I think, if you look at how we treat ailments now and how we're addressing some of the major, killers of mankind, like things like heart disease, for example, there are big changes coming, and we're seeing that. We started to see that certainly with the pandemic, and of course, the challenges that the pandemic brought a few years back made us realize that we have to get more efficient in how we use our healthcare systems and how we treat patients. And that's really enabled the ramping up of more personalized treatments and more innovative technologies around those treatments to make them more effective ultimately on the patients that they're being used. So I think the life expectancy part of the portfolio, health and well-being for us, is very much about companies that are enabling this new wave of biologic drugs that are coming through, new generations that are more targeted to specific diseases and the patients that are ultimately suffering them, where demand is just starting to ramp up, and where within the next 5 to 10 years, we see these sort of treatments becoming the standard of care. The circular economy piece is interesting because, of course, using or making more efficient use of input materials and reducing your wastage is always an important thing for the environment, of course, but it becomes much more important for companies' financial progress when we're in an inflationary environment. So what we've been seeing is that more of our companies' customers are looking for solutions in their manufacturing process, for example, that can help optimize their resource usage, that can help optimize, for example, the production process by reducing the error rate. So the circular economy theme is really emerging into areas where there's both an environmental as well as a financial imperative to make more efficient use of the factors of production.
Okay, and what would you say is your outlook for sustainable investing? Obviously, we've seen some big swings in sentiment in recent years.
Yeah, so I've been around for a while now in this industry for over a decade. And I think, I've seen all of these different monikers, all of the different labels that we attach to sustainable investing. And like any trend, it's going to go through cycles rather than in a perfectly straight line. I think if I look back over the last 3 years, I look back to the pandemic and what happened then, you saw a massive wall of capital coming into this space. And in some cases, in such a rush to invest in sustainable related products before they even understood what they were doing and how they earned their financial returns. So I think we've now gone through this sort of healthy workout period. And I think there is always going to be, I'm fairly confident that we will continue to see increased demand from the end investor. But ultimately, I think now the industry has had a chance to take a breather and really understand where the different flavors of sustainability fit into a portfolio and how they make part of a broader portfolio and asset allocation.
Absolutely, thank you very much for that. And we always end the Green Dream with this question: what is your favourite sustainable drink or snack?
I'm not sure if I've got any good sustainable answers for that, but I'm originally from Malta, so I'm going to have to big up the country over here, my home country, and talk about a Maltese snack, which is cheesecake, but a savoury cheesecake.
Okay.
And that's something I always race to when I go home. I've steered away from talking about my country's beer, which would probably be my first unsustainable favourite snack.
We do get beer a lot. Well, thank you very much for your time. Great to speak to you,
Thanks, Natalie.